Hi, and welcome to another episode of Is That a Credible Claim? How do we show it? How do we prove it? This afternoon, the government made a press conference, and in it, they claimed that they had already exceeded their very, very unambitious reduction target for violent crime based on some quarterly results that they wanted to promote ahead of time before they were actually due. Here's Christopher Luxon before the media this afternoon telling them that his government had made great progress thanks to its recent policy actions.
Great to be here with our Minister of Justice and Minister of Police, Paul Goldsmith and Mark Mitchell. And the reason is that also some good encouraging signs, I think some good early encouraging momentum around the reduction and trying to meet our reduction of 20,000 victims of violent crime being reduced by 2029, and we're making some good progress on that. And I think that's a collective effort from both ministers and their teams, but certainly the police, the corrections team, but also the general public as well. And so I just want to say thank you as we try and restore law and order in New Zealand.
In the New Zealand Herald, the claims that this is actually down to National's action were further made, that this was all down to the great work of Mark Mitchell and Paul Goldsmith. So is this a credible claim? Well, the Ministry of Justice was very quick this afternoon to respond to the shonky idea that these statistics that are normally annual can be compared to monthly or quarterly results because they have a different methodology. As you can see here, Radio New Zealand made it pretty clear that anything the Prime Minister is saying now is pretty much kind of like take it with a grain of salt, because it's not until the annual reports come out in October that we have anything firm to look at. If you do look at the trend over time, you'll actually find this chart here. This chart shows that in 2018 all the way through to now, the overall number of violent crimes has roughly tracked with population growth, so it's pretty much a flat line, except there's been a couple of bumps and one dip around 2022. If you look at the hard number for 2022, it said that there were 162,000 incidents of violent crime at that time. Right now, the government is claiming that quarterly results for February show that there are 157. But it gets more interesting. Not only did the Prime Minister claim that these results showed progress, he also claimed that the only goal that the Labour government had was to reduce the prison population. And that goal was from 2017, but it was actually ended in 2023. Having said that, during those 6 years between 2017 and 2023, Christopher Luxon claims that as a result of the prison reduction target, that crime went up.
I can tell you it definitely wasn't working. Their approach was to actually have one target around law and order, and that was to reduce the prison population. We want to see the prison population reduced, but we want to see it on the back of reduced crime. And that approach didn't work because it led to 30% growth in violent crime, 50% growth in gang membership, a doubling of retail crime, and a fourfold increase in ram raids.
He said that there had been a fourfold increase in ram raids. But when you look at ram raid statistics and who was actually committing ram raids, 70% of the number of people committing ram raids at the peak in August 2022 were children under the age of 18. So it's not likely that these were people that had been in prison and who were released into the community. So in fact, even on that point, it can be demonstrated that Luxon is talking rubbish. When it came to retail crime, Christopher Luxon said that it had doubled. There is no evidence to suggest who committed those crimes and whether they had been recently released. So again, that's a very suspect claim. Unfortunately, I'm not able to prove that today, but I would just say, given all the other claims that actually have not been true, you can put it into the suspicion bucket. And then overall, Christopher Luxon claimed that there'd been a 30% increase in violent crime, which is again from another data set, the police statistics, which he chops and changes and uses when it's convenient for him. in 2018 all the way through to now, the overall number of violent crimes has roughly tracked with population growth, so it's pretty much a flat line. We're also dealing with politicians who love to stand in the limelight all the time. We've seen it with inflation. The OCR coming down has nothing to do with national at all, but they will stand next to it and say our plan is working. So again, with law and order, these guys are pretty desperate. The meth levels in the water have increased by over 100% or 96%, something like that, as you can see from this graph, since they started cutting jobs in customs around April 2024. So the idea that violent crime is down while meth is up is a bit crazy, but you've got the Ministry of Justice saying these guys are playing with the stats and they shouldn't do it, but they're doing it anyway because they want to fool people, and I think that's really all I wanted to say. Thank you. That's another episode of Is That a Credible Claim? I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you again soon.